Hey beautiful souls. So today's video is actually pretty important because it's the most common question that I get from everyone, and it's always, where do I start? So a lot of us are actually already kind of started, right? We're already trying to look for ways to feel better. A lot of people deal with depression, anxiety, stress. There's a whole bunch of stuff from our past that we have to deal with, things that in our present moment that we're dealing with, fears of the future, and we don't know where to start, and we just want to feel good. We start with shadow work, inner child work, meditation. Where do we go? So I'm going to give you guys the rundown in this video of where I started and what I suggest to people. So number one, I believe is the most important above everything is self-love. I believe that working on loving yourself is so deeply important because this is what I say all the time, as within, so without. Whatever you feel on the inside will automatically radiate on the outside world. So if you start feeling very self-loving, which a lot of us think we already kind of accept ourselves, but then we realize through this journey that there's been a lot of mean self-talk and little subtle signs. So I'll give you some subtle signs if you're somebody that is really struggling with self-acceptance, self-worth, if you're good enough, you're not, all that stuff. So number one, you notice that the affirmations that you make to yourself every day are not very kind. Let's say you bump into something and you go, "Ow, I'm so stupid. Can I see where I'm going?" Now, you may not say it out loud. It may just be these subtle thoughts, but these are things like if you drop a pencil and you drop it again, oh my God, or you drive and you by accident cut someone off and you're like, oh my God, I can't drive properly. What am I, stupid? And if just you notice that your self-talk is not very kind, that's the first indication. Now, a lot of us are very self-aware. We know that we don't really love and accept ourselves. Well, the key to getting started, because a lot of people are like, yeah, that's great. I want to love and accept myself. That'd be great. But I don't know where to start. And for me, there are two major things that I did in my life that completely altered within weeks of how I felt about myself. The first one is affirmations. So affirmations, I want to get this clear that a lot of people, they don't believe in it. They're like, yeah, okay, if I say I love and accept myself every day, it doesn't mean I'm going to believe it. It's not true. How can I just say words and they don't actually mean anything? So this is where I start by saying, you're not faking it till you make it. That's not how it's working. What's happening now is you're actually reminding yourself of how you felt before all the crap happened to you, before all that stuff, before perhaps people put in your mind that you weren't good enough, or you weren't a certain way, you weren't perfect, and you weren't, all that stuff that kind of happened to you over the years. You're just reconnecting with the very baby childlike innocence in yourself that actually did pretty much love and accept ourselves. Because as young babies, we don't even think about this. We're just experiencing. So I think that's super important to know. Doing affirmations is not like, think about it. You've had years and years of not loving yourself. Years of probably being very condescending and rude and maybe physically towards your body. Like, ew, why do I look like that? Ew, like things like that you're saying in the mirror, things that you're saying all the time to yourself. So you're not aware. What you have to do is first bring those things to your awareness. Okay. So every time that you notice that you're talking bad to yourself, just, stop. You know what? Just be aware of it. And the second thing is you can't expect to do like a couple of affirmations for a week and be like, hey, it's not working. Because what's happening is you have years and years of conditioning, years and years of bad talk that you have to undo. You have to go back and remember that. The second thing with affirmations, I need you guys to YouTube, and I'm going to let you guys know where to find this. Dr. Emoto, the water experiment. So he does this big experiment on how the molecules of the water, okay, you can change the structure of the water, the molecules of water, with words and intention, okay? And this is science. And he actually opened a whole school on this, and there is many scientists that have kept his work going since he passed. So this is super important because we're made of over 75% water. So if words and intentions can do that, like I'll show you a quick video. you'll see how crazy it is, what it can do to our body. So we don't notice that we're kind of like poisoning ourselves with our words and our intentions towards ourselves. The second thing I would say, so once you get in that, you have to listen. Louise Hay, she, when I first started affirmations many years ago, she had said 3 months. You have to do this every day, 3 months, as soon as you wake up. Now, I was so deeply self-hating that I decided to do it multiple times a day. I would do it in the morning as soon as I woke up. Instead of waking up at 6:30, I set my alarm for 6 and I did a solid half hour of just reciting, I love and accept myself. And I'm telling you guys, honestly, you're going to get really annoyed. If you're somebody that really doesn't love yourself, it's very annoying. I love myself, I accept, and you're like, ugh, because your brain doesn't believe it, so it's resisting. But once you get past that, you're going to notice yourself kind of like it goes in resistance, and eventually you just kind of let go and you kind of accept it, but not really. And then eventually you'll notice that your self-talk, it's like you're conditioning your self-talk to go, yeah, I love and accept myself. And you're going to go, actually, I'm not that bad. So it's going to go from I hate myself to I'm not that bad to I'm pretty good to wow, I'm actually really a good person. Like you'll notice this shift within 3 months. So for me, it really worked. I still do all sorts of, we have stuff around the house. I still do that. So affirmations, number one, first thing, if you're working on self-love. The second thing that I noticed was self-love. This is really big, okay? Is gratitude journals. So there's 2 types of gratitude journaling that I do. I do physical gratitude journals that you write it down. And you want to start this if you're not used to doing gratitude, like daily gratitude stuff. And then eventually when you're used to that, so I'll start with that and then I'll tell you the next step. So the first step is every night, what you're going to do is right before bed, you can get a little book and a little pencil, and you're going to write down 3 things during the day that you're grateful for. And I'm not talking about I'm grateful for my house, but you could start with that. If it's too hard to find something you're grateful for, like I'm grateful for clothes, so I'm not walking around nude. I'm grateful for my toilet that flushes, that I actually have a toilet. I'm grateful for, the fresh oxygen air I'm getting from trees. And you'll notice at first it's pretty easy. You're going to find a bunch of stuff the first few days. So 3 things, pretty easy throughout the day. You're like, hey, eventually you're going to kind of run out of the superficial stuff, the stuff that's for everyone. Everybody gets the oxygen. Everybody has a toilet, well, mostly around the world. But eventually you're going to have to start looking for things. So throughout the weeks, you're going to go, this is going to get harder and harder. So the second week, third week, you're actually now starting to go, oh my gosh, what am I grateful for? So during the day, you're going to start to notice things that you're grateful for, like huge things that you're grateful for. And you're going to go, oh wow, this happened. And all of a sudden a butterfly will just flutter by if you're not too scared of butterflies, and it'll land pretty close to you, and I'm grateful for the butterfly. And you'll start to notice these small, subtle things. And what happens with gratitude is, I tell everybody this, the more you're grateful, the more life gives you things to be grateful for. This is solid truth. You can ask anybody who practices gratitude. And this is where the second step comes in, is when you're grateful and you don't have to write it down anymore. So you're going to notice at one point you won't have to do a gratitude journal anymore, because you're writing it down, and all of a sudden you're going to be walking throughout your day trying to find things that you're grateful for, and you go, wait, I'm grateful for this bird I'm grateful, let's say you parked in an illegal spot and you didn't get a ticket, just a funny example. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm grateful I didn't get a ticket. Or maybe you were late to something and then something happened. Oh, I'm grateful I was late. And then you'll start to find the gratitude even in the dark moments. And this is solid when it comes to self-love, because we all live pain. There's no human on earth that is exempt from pain. We are going to get sick. We're going to have pain. If I sit too long, I'm in pain. If I stand too long, I'm in pain. Pain is inevitable for the human experience. So it's not of how we feel the pain, like of with or no, oh, she doesn't have pain, I have more pain than she does. It's not about that. It's about our relationship with pain. And when you start becoming grateful, you kind of switch the relationship with pain, because you see the gratitude in the pain that you're living. Okay? So when you start doing this for a few months, I suggest this for everybody because, like I said, as within, so without. But when you start working on the self-love, it'll start like trickling on to whatever else you're supposed to work on. And I think that everybody's journey is different. I'll tell you my journey of how and where I knew what I was meant to work on. So I kind of follow that step and I suggest that step for everyone. But you will kind of automatically find what you're looking for, because the more, this is when, I'll tell you guys a little bit after about projection and what happens with projection, but you'll notice that the more you work on loving you, you're not going to accept, you're going to start setting a little bit more healthy boundaries. You're going to start finding ways to feel good boundaries, healthy boundaries of limiting certain people in your life, and things will kind of automatically, you'll know where to go. Whether it's a spiritual route, a mental health route, whatever, it'll just kind of like come into your life and you're going to know for you specifically. The way my life trickled in is right away, as soon as I was working on the self-love, it dribbled into shadow work. The reason it did for me is because as a child, I was very good at pretending to be positive, to the point that now I understand the word is called toxic positivity. It's the faking the positive and being positive around everyone because you want to be loved, you want to be accepted by others because you don't love and accept yourself of full self. I'm not talking about loving and accepting just the good parts, because it's pretty easy, right? You're outgoing, you're loving, you're great, you're accepting all that. What happens is we have a hard time accepting our bad stuff, but what we see as bad. Some people may not. For example, for me, I used to think it was bad that I talk a lot. Right? That's why it works right now, right? In my future, it's working now for my YouTube videos, but I used to hate it about myself. I would actually go in public and not want to talk, because as soon as I would start to talk, I would talk too much, and then I saw people getting annoyed and all that, and then I didn't like it about myself. Also, my tone of voice could go really high when I'm feeling very passionate. Two things I really didn't like about myself. And then when it trickled into the shadow work, I realized that toxic positivity of always being positive is suppressing the negative parts of ourselves that we feel are very dark. But actually, it's not about healing those dark parts. It's never about healing the negative and fixing the negative. It's about loving and accepting it. So going into understanding that, let's say I talk a lot because there's a reason I talk a lot. I talk a lot because my voice is meant to help other people. My voice is meant to tell my story, to, express myself. When I get loud, it's my voice. I don't know for now, but in the future, who knows? Maybe I'm going to need that loud voice for something, right? So everything that we don't like about ourselves, that we think is bad, we start dripping in that self-love into that area. And this is what shadow work is working on loving and accepting not just the sunny parts, but also the moon. Because at night, we rest, right? In the darkness of the moon, we rest, we heal, our body releases hormones. The moon is needed just as much as the sun, just like our dark parts are needed just as much as the sun is needed. So this is where I went into when I dripped onto the shadow work. And then my shadow work kind of went into spirituality, because as I learned to love all of myself and to find ways to be in the now and learning to calm, some people have a lot of anxiety. I was working with a lot of depression, and my brain got automatically fueled into depression. If I didn't feel good, it would just go into the sadness. And I learned ways to be in the now. I learned about tapping. I learned about, like crystals and energy and all that stuff. And I was kind of really getting into that stuff because I was still looking for ways outside of me to help. Now, I'm not saying these things don't help. They really do. Incense and all these things outside of ourselves are coping ways. And they're actually really good coping ways to find things outside of ourselves, okay? Like if you want to go somewhere or see someone or use crystals or use whatever you feel that you need that is outside of yourself is going to help. Now, although I was meditating, it wasn't consistent. And then, as soon as I found consistent meditation, not like, for example, let's say brushing your teeth or taking a shower, not doing it like once every 2 weeks or once a week, or I'm just gonna kind of like go to bed, close my eyes, and then meditate till I fall asleep. I used to think I'm meditating. I meditate every day. No, I would just close my eyes, and within a minute I was falling asleep. And I realized, think about it like brushing your teeth. It's like I was just using a little mouthwash, whatever. But when you use just mouthwash, or you don't really fully do a good brushing, you're gonna develop plaque. The infections may happen in your teeth, right? You start getting pain in your teeth. The same thing with your body. You know, you may get wounds and sore. If you're taking a shower every couple weeks or really fast, you just go in the water and that's it, there's no cleaning, you're not going to feel so fresh. I believe that when you start to meditate consistently and you put it in your daily practice, and the reason why a lot of us don't meditate is because, you know, we didn't grow up with it. If you grew up with eating 3 meals a day, in your adult, chances are you're going to eat 3 meals a day. If you grew up with something, it's set in your kind of DNA, in your consistent life, so you're going to continue that as an adult. So now it's up to you to decide, what do you want to do every day to help yourself feel better? You can't wait for things to change and then you say, hey, everything is going to change, but I'm not going to take any action. You have to do something consistently, because if you do something consistently, that's where you're successful at it. So a lot of people say, I can't meditate, right? So I used to believe that too. I was like, I can't really meditate. I can't. I would try everything. I tried to focus on my heartbeat. I tried to listen to music and sounds. And I am an overthinker, which I used to think was bad. And I used to try to change it. But through shadow work, I realized that overthinking is fantastic if you're working on creating these great things in your life, which I'll get into at the end of this. So if you're working on meditating and you feel that you can't meditate because you're sitting there and your overthinking thoughts are just like overpowering, this is actually great. And I know a lot of people are like, no, it's not so great. If I wish you knew what I had in my thought while I was meditating. At first, you start with the superficial stuff like, oh, I have to do the laundry. Oh my God, I forgot to do this. I forgot to do that. So when you first start meditating, I strongly suggest having a pen and a paper beside you. As soon as you have a thought, you write it down. Have a thought, write it down. Have a thought, write it down. So now it's concrete. You're not going to go, oh, I'll think about it later. No, it's something that's on your mind. Could even be in your subconscious, completely buried. And now you're bringing it to the conscious mind because you're meditating. Meditating is clearing out from the pineal gland. You're releasing hormones. You're clearing everything out. You're in the silence. And that's when it's time to think about, when you were 6 years old and something bad happened to you, whatever. Everything just comes up. So a lot of people don't want that. They don't want that feeling. But if you're ready to heal, actually, I gave this example today. I'm going to give it. In order to clean your room, if you want a deep clean, not just like a surface tidying, I'm talking about deep cleaning your room. You have to open up your closet, empty all the drawers, all the closets, everything, bring it out, and then you look around your room and it's a disaster, right? You look at your room, you're like, oh my God, this is like chaos. And then bit by bit, you take the shirt, you put it on the hanger, and you put, okay, what do I don't need? I don't wear this anymore. I'm not going to wear this. What are these old papers from 5 years ago? Why am I holding on to this? You start throwing. And then eventually you walk out and you look at the room and you go, wow, this is really nice and clean. It's really good. Now, it doesn't mean that your room won't get messy again, but it's nice you have to kind of open up the drawers and the closets to get things out. This is why I think meditation is not about just peace and everything. It's actually cleaning out the closets and the drawers in your mind. So it's going to bring out some stuff that you didn't know was there. And it's going to so at first meditation is a little peaceful. Okay. The first beginning is oh, this is nice. This is nice. It's relaxing. And then all of a sudden, the more you do it, the more you start going, wait a minute, I don't like this. How come I'm not feeling good? And people think that meditation is meant to feel good. It's not. It's just you're bringing everything to your conscious mind. This is why pen and paper is very important, because you write it down. You don't have to hold on to it. You're writing it down. It's there. It's there. And now you know what your triggers are. You have now accessed deep parts of yourself and your triggers could even be just having a messy house, or having, it can be big triggers or small little triggers. So once you do that, you have it all on paper. When you start this practice, you're going to notice all of a sudden something will hit you and you'll fall into the trance of meditation where you have no thoughts. And how I describe it is like you're, in French, I call it dans la lune. You're like dazed. You're just, kind of focused, and it's so nice. You don't know where your hands are. It's just this overall really nice, calm feeling. Now, don't expect to get that every time. I can be doing years and years of daily meditation and you don't get it every time. But you'll notice that the more you do this, the more years you practice it. It's to the point that right now, let's say I've been doing this for 10 years, I'm sitting down and I close my eyes, and within, I would say 3 minutes, I fall into the meditation because my brain now knows, oh, it's you time. Do you remember at the beginning of this, remember when I was talking about finding things externally? We need to find things external. Like you guys, I want a coach to tell me what to do. I want a psychic. I want a tarot reader. I want a therapist. I want a psychologist. All those people are great. I am a very big believer in psychology, psychiatrists, and I love card readers, tarot. All of those things are really great because they can help people with the coping of what we're going through, of what we've been through and all that. But I believe, and this is why I say I'm coaching you to coach yourself, because I was lucky enough to find a psychologist who had told me that when I was young, that she's like, eventually I don't want you to come. I want you to do this yourself. So I'm doing this for you guys because meditation teaches us that although everything outside of ourselves is great, is wonderful, the answers are always in here. Always. But we don't know how to access them, or we don't trust them. Maybe your parents when you were young didn't, validate you and said they made you believe, or family members made you believe that what you feel and what you think is not right. So now you think that what you feel is not the right answer. So you have to maybe call your friends, call your family, always have to seek validation from other people. When you start to meditate, you can still take the opinions. You can still see the therapist. It's very important. I believe sometimes they can access our subconscious feelings and all that. And when you start meditating, you kind of access that, which in turn is for self-loving, because you're actually meditating every day. That means you're taking care of yourself every day, not hair, nails, and all that stuff. I'm talking about full care for your spirit, for your soul, for your body. Because it's not just your soul and your spirit. When I started meditating, within 3 weeks, my blood pressure went down. I was, within 2 months, I had no anemia. I had chronic pain. I've had pain. And the more I meditate, the more I'm working with all that. So going into what I did continuously is I started going into everything. So everything hit at once. As soon as I started to meditate, I got all the answers. I was starting to get people coming into my life that I knew had to do inner child work. All right, I'm going to do that. I have to do a whole transformation. I have to work on loving my body. I have to work on it. And all of a sudden, as soon as you start to meditate, you get all the answers. You're no longer looking outside. So you go online, on TikTok, on YouTube, and you go, wow, this is so weird. This is exactly what I needed to hear. And it appeared. It's like everything is just, you get the answers. You're drawn to everything. Everything is drawn to you. Side note, you don't attract bad people in your life. I just feel like I have to say this. You allow them. I want to say this. I'm going to make a video on this after. You don't attract negative people in your life, negative partners, you allow them. I want to know, this is a big message that I had to learn, and it took me years to learn this. I want everybody to know that. Just remember that, okay? Because we believe, oh no, what's wrong with me that I'm attracting bad people? You're just allowing them to come in your life because perhaps you don't treat yourself nice. And this is where projection comes in. This is a big part of healing. So projection, I find, is one of the last, like when you're at the projection stage and you finally understand that what you see in the world is a reflection of you. And when you get that concept and you recognize it and you become aware of it, that is such a huge part, because You are no longer blaming the world for your life. You could go through whatever you've been through. There is no more blame. You are now growing up and taking responsibility for how you feel, taking responsibility for all your actions, and you're not blaming somebody external outside of you for what you're feeling now, because you know that whatever you're seeing in the world is a reflection. You cannot see in another what you do not possess. If I find myself walking around and judging someone, I might not feel that good that day, or maybe the day before, and I was projecting. If you point the finger, where are the other 3 fingers pointing at? So if you want to know more about that, check out my videos. I have multiple videos on projection. I'll actually link it to the end of this, because it's a very important concept and it's deeply healing, and I believe can help. If we all understood this, there would be world peace. I believe after all this work, I believe all of this is needed before Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Deepak Chopra, Dr. David Hamilton, to name a few, all the doctors, Dr. Stephen Greer, all the doctors and the scientists that talk about healing your mind and body and epigenetics and rewiring your mind, creating new synaptic connections, creating new, learning to not change your DNA, but alter it into a way of creating this future and this body that's like all that stuff. I believe all the other stuff is needed first. Some people jump right away into Joe Dispenza and they don't understand why it's not happening. And it's because they have we have over 95% of our mind and what our thoughts and all that are unconscious. Over 95%. We have like 5%, maybe 5% conscious. So if you're working on doing Joe Dispenza and all this, but you have all this buried unconscious stuff, it's going to surface out. Like it's going to come up in your face. You're not going to understand why it's not working at all. You're not feeling any healing, or maybe you are temporarily, only when you're at an event. If you're with Bruce Lipton and you're doing it, you're like, yeah. You're Sadhguru, you're there. Oh, yeah. I could feel all this. Tony Robbins, you feel it. And then you go home and you're like, it's not working so much. It's because of all that stuff that you haven't brought, all that unconscious stuff that you need to bring to the surface. So I think once you go through all that and you get to Joe Dispenza's teachings, which have personally completely altered my life, completely changed. Bruce Lipton's webinar, like the watch party that I did, and then I did Stephen Greer's watch party, which altered a whole nother section of my life. And I realized that I understood what they were talking about when I finally got into that. I understood how to change my thoughts, how to use it, to the point that when I meditate and I do those body healing and mind healing, I could feel within minutes my body like tingling and feeling, and the sensations. It's a complete other world, which is my final saying here, is possible for all of you. It's possible for everyone. I am not like singled out here, and I believe that this is why I'm here. This is my journey here, because some people come into this world like these Sadhgurus of the world. They're just like these enlightened beings that come onto earth, and then you look up at them and like, wow, I wish I was like that. Like, I wish I knew that much, and and didn't care about what people thought, and I had just this. You want to be like them. Like Tony Robbins, when he was young, he knew right away what he wanted. I'm like, yeah, they felt pain, they've had it, but how come there's something? I have not had that life. I had a life of chronic illness, of depression and suicide and pain and toxic relationships. I have lived what many of you guys lived. And if I can do it, and I can manage to work on all of this, and now to the point that I'm sharing my story and I can help you guys, and I don't say coach you, it's I coach you to coach you, just to show you that it's possible. So I want you guys to know there's going to be pain, there's going to be good, but everything is possible. And I hope this video helped you in any way. If you have any more questions that I didn't address and I forgot to talk about, please let me know, comment. And I'll do my best to do another video for that. Okay, I love you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already. Love you guys.